Hello friends, today we are here with Alan Maas, an author among many things. Alan, you've recently come out with a book, but first let's talk about just you in general. Talk a little bit about sort of your background, where you grew up, all the kind of things you've done. Which is a lot, I know, but we got to start somewhere.
Okay, so in a brief synopsis, I guess, I grew up in eastern South Dakota over by Madison, graduated from Madison High School. You know, I guess I think that most of my education came from growing up on the farm, and still use a lot of that, but I was bound and determined to do something a little different, and so I was kind of the black sheep that left the farm and came out here to the hills to be a forester, and did that for a few years. Loved that. That's what kind of got me started down this path of wondering about the history of this area, and that's when I started doing the research and interviewing ranchers and landowners that would give me stories, and I would just start putting those into, you know, writing them down and starting to figure out what I was going to do with it, which I didn't know at the time. And over the years I kind of started finding out more and more history about the Black Hills, which is kind of one of those things that I think a lot of people don't even know all the stuff that's happened out here. At that time I was going from being this forester to working and building a resort out by Mount Rushmore called Rushmore Shadows, and from there I went to the school district, and then I taught for a while, and then from there started a company with the Casey brothers called Epic, and did the billboards for about 16, 17 years. After that I ran into some, we'll just call him a kind of an eccentric individual over in Spain who brought this biometric technology over here, and we started Nexus. From there, then I kind of branched off into what I call Bolt Biometrics right now, which is a company that, well, it's a software package that kind of equated to helping my dad with his Alzheimer's and anybody else that has access to computers, and being able to access with just with your finger. Not only that, but the applications within. Recently, well, it was 18 years ago, I built my first house out here, log house, and for some unknown reason I decided to build another house this year, and decided to finish my book at the same time, so it was kind of like a long year of being here, but both of them are done now, and that's bringing us up to right now.
So talk about the book, The Kind Whisper.
Well, it was kind of the culmination of following Custer's Trail through the hills and then learning more about the Thorn Stone, which is, I think, one of the best stories out there as far as trying to get some history in the Black Hills about when gold was actually found here. Mm-hmm. And in their interpretation, it was in 1833, which was before California. Mm-hmm. So when I found out about the Thorn Stone, and I asked ranchers around the area about it, and everybody had their stories about it, but it was kind of more of a deeper dive. And then finding out that this mystery of there's 7 guys that came out here and nobody knew what happened to them. Mm-hmm. So that was when I started kind of doing the research behind that, and I went back and found the manifest of where the 3 brothers came over, the Kind brothers came over from Germany, and when they started their journey across the United States, there were still records of some things that happened. Mm-hmm. One of them ended up in Pennsylvania, one of them ended up in Minnesota, and the other one, nobody knows, or we might.
Talk us through the book a little bit. You said it's factually based, but there's a fictional character.
Well, it needed a character to tie all these events together. Mm-hmm. So you'll find out that there is a fictitious character, mm-hmm. But that character actually brings everything together. And so, the spanning of 100 years, you're going to go through different families, you're going to go through different iterations of what happened in this area. But it all comes back to the fact that, we had this big gold rush, and we had all these characters that showed up here, mm-hmm. and we had all these things that happened. And we still do to this day. And then all these places that you see in the book, you can actually visit. Mm. So we're talking about doing some type of a tour that you can actually see all these places. These characters, I just kind of chronologically followed their story, and then ended up bringing other history into it, like the Thorn Stone, the Custer Trail, the Newton Jenny Party, everything that happened with the gold rush, and then right up to the founding of Spearfish, and the Frawley Ranch is tied into this. I don't necessarily mention the Frawley Ranch, but it's all part of this story. So there's just a lot of tidbits that kind of really focus on this entire Black Hills for the most part. And like I said, you can go see a lot of these places.
So why the Kind Whisper? I'm assuming the Kind brothers, you said.
Kind brothers, and they actually find the gold in Whisper Gulch. So that's kind of how I came up with the name. You know, that's the way you remember history, is through a story. And I would love to see this, you know, as a typical book like that, because I was, you know, more or less forced to read it in high school. I'm glad I was. And, you know, there's just so much stuff that could be done to help students understand history is not hard. It's just a matter of trying to think how it's presented. And if I can do that through the book, it'd be fantastic. And then my goal is just to have as an entertainment, and hopefully people like it.
So where can folks get the book?
Right now it's on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. I will be getting more books, and I'm planning on having some book signings, hopefully at like Prairie Edge and other bookstores and stuff like that. It's really an easy read that you can find out about a lot of things in the Black Hills here, and maybe even find out there's some connection. Maybe there's a mystery part here that you and your family kind of know about, and that's how I found out about a lot of this stuff, is just interviewing people, finding out their connections. Here in South Dakota, we're less than 1% away from anybody. So you know there's going to be a connection somehow. And that's what I'm hoping to start the buzz with, is just that, hey, there's a lot of things out here that we don't really know about, but they're right at our fingertips.
All right, well, thanks for your time today.
Well, thank you.